I know.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you everyone for joining us. We have another episode today with Lightworkers Secrets to Success. So we're so excited for you to be here with us today. Today we have a special guest, Carla Sridevi Cohen, and it's such an honor to have her here with us today. So she's a master healer, and she's been in the healing arts for over 30 years, certified in more than 20 healing modalities. So we're so excited to have her here to kind of teach us what she does, talk to us about that. And then we have probably some questions for you, Carla, as you get started on kind of telling us a little bit more about you, what you do. And our whole thing is, with everything that's going on in the world right now, we said, how can we make the biggest impact, a positive impact? And as a group, we decided to manifest the life that we want for 2021. So not listening to the naysayers and some of those other things that are going on right now, but let's just focus on the positive. Let's focus on, bringing this last quarter of 2021 with some power and some energy, and how we can all do that either individually or as the collective or as a group. So that's our main purpose of having this channel, and we're so thankful that you came to join us today. So a little bit more about Carla. She combines years of tenacious technical and intuitive study on the human body, plant medicine, emotional intelligence, numerous forms of body work, yoga, conscious touch, clairsentience, meditation, bringing an extremely unique perspective, depth of knowledge, and ability to support her clients' healing journey. So her clients' journey out of physical symptoms and emotional wounding into a confident powerhouses. So it sounds amazing. So I'll let you take it away. What else can you tell us?
Well, let me tell you a little bit about my story and how I got into this. And then I can share with you what my vision is, my mission now, because I have a pretty ambitious mission that I've launched as a result of everything that I've been through. So I won't say exactly the year because I'm not good at remembering. But anyway, over 30 years ago, I was in the film business, and I worked as what's called a development executive. And what I did was I would develop stories for television or film, and then package them with the artists and maybe the producer, maybe the director, and then sell it to either the network or whoever. And I had worked very, very hard as a female in that industry to get to that level. For me, it was a big deal. I thought I was, I had it. Well, I wouldn't say I had it dialed in, but I was pretty proud that I'd gotten as far as I had. And what happened was, the last company I was working at, the gentleman who brought me on board, I didn't know him when he hired me. We became friends, and within about 6 months of me being hired there, they fired him and asked me to take over his job. And they didn't offer me any increase in pay. They said, we'll see how you do, and then, maybe we'll give you a better title. So I worked I put in a 70-hour work week, and my husband would be having fun, and I'd be reading scripts, and as a female, I felt like I had to prove myself constantly, and I had to work harder and harder to, maintain my position or even get to where I was. So I was actually doing the same work my boss had been doing, and I was getting about a third of the pay. So that, that's sort of normal in Hollywood, right? And honestly, at the time, I don't think I totally realized it wasn't me. I think part of me thought, I wasn't good enough or whatever. I didn't actually realize it was part of the culture, that, it's more about the culture within the business than it was about me. So anyway, I started I had a couch where I would sit and read, my scripts or whatever I would write. And my little cat naps started to turn into longer and longer naps. And eventually it got to a point where I couldn't function at all. I was just sleeping. And so it was kind of, I think they were about to fire me, and I quit at the same time. And eventually at one point they did give me a raise, but, they basically, it was still, pretty abysmal compared to what he had been making. And so I had an elevated fever, constant fever. I had an elevated white blood cell count. And the doctors were actually quite stumped. They threw out a bunch of ideas, but I was so fatigued, I had to sleep almost all day. So I went from doctor to doctor to doctor to try to get this resolved. And finally, my main doctor said, look, I'm so sorry, but, we think it might be CFS or Epstein-Barr, but we don't really, it was so early when all of that was going on. They said, but we don't know how to help you, but we think you're depressed. So they sent me home with an antidepressant, and I took it, and I remember collapsing on my toilet, trying to hold my hands over my head, like, because I used to straighten my hair in those days, and trying to hold my hands over my head and just collapsing from complete weakness and just bawling because I felt so helpless. And I was weak. And I, after being this powerhouse, I had gone from one extreme to the other. So what happened was after that one antidepressant, that was the last medication I've taken, and that's been, like I said, over 30 years. I threw the rest of the bottle out, and unfortunately, I wasn't smart enough to not put it down the toilet. But anyway, so that's another story, because it pollutes the environment. And then I started studying, reading books, because I realized doctors, for the first time in my life, my doctors can't help me. My parents can't fix me. I really don't know what to do. And so I studied everything I could, metaphysics, nutrition, everything I could read. And I remember spending a lot of my time just looking up at the leaves of the Chinese elm tree, where I had a chaise lounge, and they would kind of help me get outside, so I would at least get outdoors a little bit for part of the day. And then one day when I was starting to I felt a little better one day. My neighbor was going to a orientation for transcendental meditation. And I said, I invited myself basically to go with her. And when he sang the lineage of they do an invocation, it's the lineage of the gurus. And it was weird because I knew it. It was like, I know this. I couldn't recite it, but I knew it and that was the beginning of things starting to really open up for me, because right after that, so then I'll just skip forward to a couple little main points. So the meditators needed a place to meditate, and they asked, if anybody would offer their home. And I said, sure, you can come to our house. It was easier for me because I didn't have to go anywhere. And the oldest woman, she was very old. She was like this crone, and she stepped over my threshold of my house, and she looked me in the eye and she said, this is the home of a very powerful healer. And I just kind of went like this, because it's like no point of reference. I don't know what she was talking about. I kind of heard it, but didn't hear, So then the same week I went to, I was feeling, a little better that week. I went to a fair. I think it was within a week of that. Maybe it was 2 weeks, but anyway, pretty close to that. And there was a fair going on, and I went, and there was a tarot reader there. And I thought, oh, that'd be fun. I'll go have my cards read. So I go to the tarot reader, and she looks at me and she says, you've been sick for a really long time. And I was like, and she goes, you need energy balancing. I was like, how does she know all that? So I said, well, how much is energy balancing? She goes, well, $50. I said, well, can you explain what it is to me? She goes, no, you just have to try it. So anyway, I said, well, I'd been out of work for almost 2 years now. I didn't even have $50. It was pretty sad. And, but that night, somebody gave me a check for $50. Hello. So I called her and I said, I want to come in and have a session with you. And what happened was, when I walked into her workspace, and I laid down on her massage table, and she don't put her hand on me, and she goes, oh my God, get off my table. And I went, I thought I did something wrong. She goes, no, you're not sick. Your problem is you're a really powerful healer, and you don't know how to control your energy. And get up. And so she said, you're gonna be, I've never let anybody work on me. You're gonna work on me, and you'll be my apprentice at the same time. So I started to work on her, and I would, she would test me. She would send me, she'd tell me the name of her client, and she'd ask me to look at them, over distance, right, in my mind, and read them and say, if there was anything that needed to be communicated. And she told me later, I didn't know any of these people, but she said that I was 100% accurate with everybody that she had me read. So that was the beginning of, of that. And right after that, I fell into another woman who was the lead psychic in the valley near me at the time. She was very famous locally. And she said, I saw her and she's like, you need to come and learn from me. So I went through her whole spiritual practitioner program. And then after that, I started studying with shaman and, stuff around the world. So that's kind of how it all started. So now I'm on a mission that I want to heal over 200,000 women in the next 2 years. And I want it. So my vision is, I call it women's health revolution. And I want to show women that they can heal without medicine. They can heal without pharmaceuticals and over-the-counter prescriptions. Although I think those things have their time and place, I think people depend on those things too much. And so that's a lot. But anyway.
I love it. Do you have a special population that you love to work with, or you're just like all women, or do you have ones that are more drawn to you?
It seems like I get people, well, they're kind of all different. I think the more common, I'm just thinking about the more recent people, I'd say that they range anywhere. There's a pretty wide range between 35 and 65. Some of them even a little older than that. And some of them are, I get a lot of people who, unfortunately, what happens is most people don't go to alternative. I love the cat, by the way, Adam. Most people don't go to an alternative person, kind of like I was, until they hit the wall, and they realize that, hey, maybe they don't like the answers they're being given, or maybe it's time to, open up and try something else. So I do get people like that. My choice would be to get women before they get to that point, so I can teach them, because what I've come up with is a term called BQ. You've heard of EQ, which is emotional intelligence, which I'm certified in, but there's BQ, which is body intelligence. And what that is we're teaching women how to learn to listen to what their body is actually saying to them before it becomes a train wreck.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but I get all kinds of women, many different belief systems and all of that. But and depending on where they're at, I try to meet people where they're at, because not everybody's at different levels, right? They want, and they're willing to do different things. But if they would do everything I said right away, they would get better faster.
So if I was really sick and I called on you, what are some little examples that you could share with me to kind of get me on the road to healing? What would you have me do?
Well, there's, again, depending on the person and what's going on. So I had one, let's start with a really health conscious person. I'll talk about him, because I have a guy in mind. I don't just work on women, but my mission is with women. But and he's an amazing man. This guy, his name is Tim, and he is a bodybuilder. He was professional, so you can imagine what kind of condition he was in. Very, you could see his six pack, very well defined, and very interesting guy. So in his situation, he had what he called a nebulous pain in his back and his side for a couple of years. And he tried all these different healing things to get it better. And, from chiropractic to acupuncture to nutrition and all these other things. And it wasn't happening for him. And so I did one session on him. And in the first session, I was able to completely release the back problem without him actually making any changes other than what we did on an emotional level. So with him, I really worked with his emotional coding and changing his emotional code.
Oh.
Then I have somebody like, I'm thinking of, well, I can't say her name, but she's a very famous healer. So she's come to me because she had also a back pain. Now, she also was very conscious from a nutritional and whatever, but her process is she's chosen to dive a lot deeper. So I'm doing what I call essential harmony, which is some of the things that I would have told her to do, she's already doing. So, and I'll come back to that in a minute. So with her, We started with bodywork sessions, and she's still choosing to come in on a fairly regular basis. We already healed what she came in for, what was the main problem, which was a back problem. But now emotionally, there's all these other shifts that are happening. She's seeing shifts in her career. She's seeing shifts in new opportunities coming into her. So that's the way my work ripples out. It doesn't just hit one thing.
Yeah.
So somebody, I might I might ask about your nutrition. I might ask about what do you eat? I depending on where I think you're at from a consciousness standpoint. I might talk to you about what are about toxins in your home. Because I'm very adamant. My home is chemical free and has been for, I don't even know how many years. Huge contributor to people getting sick. Because there's a thing called a phthalate, which is it's a chemical that you find in fragrances. And phthalates are endocrine disruptors, meaning they disrupt the entire hormonal system. And a lot of people are getting sick from asthmas, allergies, traced back to the phthalates.
I take care of seniors, and it makes me cringe when their family, because maybe it's maybe they're trying to cover up different smells like in the place, and they're putting in all those wallflowers.
Oh, the plugins, yeah.
Now I'm like, I try to take them out because I'm like, oh, I get so sick. And in every senior place I go into, they have those little Febreze things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes me cringe.
That's exactly it. So that's phthalate city, right? So those things, and you know what? The thing is it's not in things that are, it's in a lot of things that you don't think of that are not so obvious. Like, for example, women's makeup. All the makeup I'm using has no chemicals in it. It's in your laundry soap, right? It's in your dish soap. It's in and when you walk into a public restroom, they're piping it into the air. So we're basically being hit with toxins on all angles. Now, add that up to people using antibacterial soaps. I know this is going to be very unpopular right now with COVID, but anyway, these antibacterial soaps that people buy, you've got two things that are both attacking your immune system. So people are actually creating a situation where they're making themselves potentially sicker. Right? So that would be another thing I would look at. I would look at what's going on with you emotionally. Like, okay, are you in a relationship, whatever? Are you happy with you? Do you feel like you were talking about, Amanda, your thing is to help people find their purpose. Are you on purpose with what you're doing with your life? Or do you feel like the dread every time you start to go to work, So I'm really looking at the whole person. So that would be a typical way I would start. Now, if they're coming in for a hands-on session, like the healer I was talking about, with her, I'm a clairsentient. So I have a gift, which is I'm able to put my hands on somebody's tissue and read it like a book, kind of. So I literally feel the layers of tissue, and I'll hear certain moods or information from the tissue. And based on that, it will change how I move on the tissue. It's very infinitesimal kind of movement. But based on that, entire bodies have unwound just from me doing that in, like, say, maybe you came in for your back, but I got my hand on your ankle, and all of a sudden, the world opens up. So that's my most, I'm most proud of that, because it's something I've created, and it's a blend of all the different things that I've learned from everybody around the world. Right. So, so I hope that it kind of answers your question, but
it definitely does. And it brought up another question, not to hog the whole time, guys. I'm so sorry, but I did have one more question, and then I'll open it up for other people. But if you were to tell us maybe your top favorite high vibrational foods for us to ingest and eat daily, what would those be?
Well, vegetables. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not on a platform here, but I'm kind of famous for it. People always see me sipping a green drink. I do fresh pressed green vegetables every morning to start my day. And what I noticed is I can feel those micronutrients being absorbed right away into my body, and I kind of fire up, right? Whereas if I go to, maybe, I love omelets, right? I love eggs, and I'll feel full and satisfied all day, but it doesn't give me the same vibrancy to my neurons and everything else that a simple fresh green drink does. And of course, I'm talking organic, nothing, nothing pasteurized that you would find in the store, but things that you could make at your home or I have a beautiful juicer here, but we have a local market where they make beautiful organic juices. So I just go there and have them make me, X amount of bottles every week. And my husband and I down those, during the week. So, but vegetables are a very high vibratory rate. They don't have any, the thing is, and I do love chicken and I love fish, but from a vibrational standpoint, how that animal was treated, how it was caught, all those things make a difference in terms of affecting our vibration. And if you're not doing organic, then you've got the hormones and things on top of that added into, the food, which could be another problem. So.
Yeah. Well, great. Colette?
Can I have so many questions for you. So I have a friend who like literally can't get off her couch right now for like the last month.
Okay.
And I know like a lot of people actually like this, where they feel like they've tried everything, right? So like one of my friends that can't she has no energy. She has tried everything, the green juices, the energy, she can't do energy healing, she says. She says when she does energy healing, it like brings, I don't know, she says it's too much for her. So I'm just curious for these people like you, who feel like, you just can't get off the couch. Do you think the meditation is like the first step, or like, because I know there's a lot of people in that situation.
Well,
what do you recommend?
That's such a great question. And I don't know that I have a one answer across the board for everybody. If it was up to me and they came to me for advice, I probably would start them with one of my emotional release sessions. And I would do an emotional release around their beliefs around getting healed over emotional release work. That would be the first thing. I've actually done that, with people who said that they couldn't take energy work or whatever. It's a belief like anything else. And if you believe it's strong enough, I don't mean to diss your, friends or say they're, what's their word, psychosomatic, because, but they, often we fall victim to our own belief system and don't even realize that we're a victim of our own belief system. And our belief system, even though we think it's the truth. And once we start to open up and look deeper, we can always find that there's a different truth most of the time below the truth, right? So I can speak from my personal experience when I was doing a lot of self-development and opening up. I would think, okay, I've got this, and then it'd be like, here's another lesson, another layer of myself, another belief. Oh my God, that one's still there, you know what I mean, or whatever. So it's really looking a lot. That's one of the things I love about the emotional release work is that I can actually identify and help them release the exact feeling or thought that's causing them to have that problem, and a lot of times that's enough, with somebody. But, if I have my choice and I can get my hands on them, I just had somebody contact me from the UK and she's like, I wish you were here. I'm like, I wish I was there too, because I knew in her case, she really needed my hands on her. It wasn't going to be, So, but yeah, I can't say for sure. I do think meditation is valuable. It's a good first step in it. If you don't want to call me and you don't want to reach out and find out, you could try it, but if you already are having sensitivities to energy, it's just going to get more intense with meditation. That's what happened to me. I opened up, oh my God, nobody warned me. I was so mad at my meditation teacher because it wasn't his fault really, but his parting advice to me was don't make any single thing more important than any other single thing. And I thought, what a funny thing to say. And I didn't really understand what he was saying at the time. And then after he was gone and I couldn't reach him because he came in from out of town, I started seeing what he meant, because I literally had beings appearing to me over my bed. I had recurring dreams with a man I didn't recognize that was teaching me in my sleep. I later found out that he had passed 12 years before he started showing up to me. And there's a lot of books about this guy. So he's still around energetically, but he's on the physical plane. I remember going to a woman, I used to travel to other cities to do like a batch healing on people, like they'd line up 12 people for the day and I just, and I remember going to this other city and this woman was kind enough to let me stay in her house. And, I blew her electrical system in her bathroom. And so, and she was very cool about it because I didn't really have the money to go here, let me pay you back for the
Yeah.
damage that I caused.
Yeah.
So I think meditation, everybody's going to have a different response to it, is what I'm saying,
Mhm.
Where are you in the world, by the way?
I'm in California. Where are you?
What part of I'm in San Diego. What
Oh,
part of
okay.
California?
I'm in Long Beach.
That's not too far.
Oh,
Right?
it's like 3 hours. We're like neighbors.
Yeah, I used to live in San Diego, so actually I loved it down there. I still have family down there. So
What were you thinking when you were told that you were this super healer from that master that you had originally talked to?
I have to say that I wasn't sure. I didn't know. I think I short circuited, to be honest, because I honestly didn't have the capacity to process what she said to me. It was literally, I had no point of reference. You have to realize that even though I'd had some psychic experience as a child, a lot of stuff got shut down because I remember being accused of eavesdropping and some other things when I was a kid. And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't understand that either, why I was getting, what's the word, rebuked, or whatever for, doing things that I didn't do. But I had shut a lot of that down. And so when everything, even that had happened in my past, it was so long ago. And when she said that to me, I had gone from, that in my childhood maybe to going into a very straight, linear world. I mean, not that I wasn't open to spirit. I loved, as a child, I loved God. Like my thing was, I didn't care what religion, and I still am like that today. I would go with my friends I had friends that took me to their Baptist church, to the Catholic, to the Christian, to the Baptist, I went to all of them, right? And I had friends who took me to temple, right? Because my family, they didn't raise us. Their way of raising us was the 10 Commandments. It wasn't so much about, a particular religion. So I took those values with me going forward. But I think that, being open, being, I just had gone this whole very, the corporate world, very conservative route, kind of like, so all of that, it didn't make any sense to me. I just, when she said it to me, and it was the same thing, even when the healer said it, I kind of went, okay, and I thought, honestly, maybe she was missing a French fry. You know what I mean? I didn't know, I didn't know. So, and people come to me now and they say, well, can you see it in me? I'm like, well, I'm not, that's not how I can tell when somebody has maybe some inclination, but that's not how my strength, like if you think of psychics, most people, here's how I think of psychics. Every psychic, no matter what kind of psychic ability they have, right? They're like different radio stations they can tune into, right? My radio station is a body. Like I can tissue, I can vibrate that and get it. But I don't do prophecy, right? I don't, that's not my thing. Or I don't do, I don't tell you what your gifts are. I could do that probably. I can also see dead people sometimes, right? But that's not what my focus is, because what I'm good at is this one thing. You know what I mean? Well, it's a pretty big thing, because when people come, it's like they're getting body work and they're getting psychotherapy and emotional release and all these things combined, in one session. So it's a pretty great deal and a lot happens, right?
Yeah.
So,
so as you started with one thing, your tools and your healing modality, you just kept adding. And so it's not like you just do one thing. When you go into a session, you're actually pulling from, your toolbox and just kind of using everything that right in the session.
well, yes and no. So, because I know about, people have called me an essential oils expert. I've been working with essential oils for over probably 18 years now. And I used to get hired to come into corporations and teach them about essential oils, and different yoga studios like Yoga Works and things like that. But when I do a session, when I'm, in my mind, it's I'm either doing this or that kind of.
Okay.
Now that's not to say, if I had, like, I did have somebody actually not that long ago who I saw that my normal essential harmony was not going to completely cut it with her in the first or the second session, I think, that she needed something else. So I did pull in that case, I pulled in from my sports medicine background, and I actually did some myofascial release with her that I hadn't done on anybody in that way in a long time. So I don't, even though I know about essential oils, and you can't see there's a wall of them behind this screen, I don't often pull out an essential oil for people unless they specifically come for a specific oil treatment, which I do as well. And I love doing that. So, yeah. But a lot of it too is getting people conscious even about what they're saying, right? How many people say you're killing me, or,
Oh, I know.
to die for, right?
No, they always say, I'm dead. I'm like, don't say that. Your subconscious thinks you're dying or you're dead, or, I mean, you're just put into fight or flight all the time, but
Right.
it's that thing they just say all the time.
Yeah.
But Carla, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm totally into spiritual healing, and I love your story. What are you thinking about people that are so racked with fear now with the COVID? And do they come to you at all? Or, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. So I will say that I am seeing people here physically. I'm listening to my intuition about, whether I'm seeing them physically or not here. I personally believe that, okay, so if I think about how many years I've been putting this energy into getting my immune system right, and it continues, right? Because I had my lesson. I got taken off the board. God said to me, okay, you're not going to play right now, right? You're going to stand over here. So, but what I learned from that is I started to take, I do I'm doing things daily to take care of my immune system and buoy it up. So for me, I feel like I can walk out there. I am being conscious. I am I'm not inviting it. I do wear a mask when I go out into public, but if I choose to let somebody into my home to do a session, I'm probably not going to wear a mask, I think that the fear is being fed by the media. And if you're, I had a teacher once say to me, this was during the Gulf War, and I'm going to date myself, but anyway, I remember going into all these 7-Elevens, and they had the TVs playing with all the war stuff on the television, and I was so afraid, because that's all I saw around me. And I went to one of my spiritual teachers, and she was, because I used to also do, one of the other things I do is breath work, and she was a specialist in breath work. And she said, Carla, stop watching the news. And I went, duh, because it was just like it was putting me more in an anxious state. So I think number one is for people, I know we need to know what's going on, right? But maybe be not so addicted to it, right? Like tune in once in a while. So that's number one. But ultimately the thing is people they're holding up the vaccine like it's going to be the holy grail. And the problem is that vaccines mutate. Viruses mutate. They are constantly mutating. That's what happens with all these versions of the flu that we get. Every version of COVID-19 means it's not the first time that COVID's been around, right?
Right. It's been 19 times, right?
Right. So even if you get a shot, what's to say that it's not going to keep mutating and it'll come back around and you'll get it in a different, version. So I think ultimately I don't believe in the vaccine. I'm sorry. I think it's, it's your choice. If you want to get it, that's fine. But remember that, again, viruses are going to keep mutating. Their job is to keep living, right? They just want to live. They're as innocent as we are, right? So you got, on the one hand, I have that thinking. On the other hand, there's an old Sufi saying, trust in Allah, but tie the camel to the fence. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's like, take precautions for yourself, be smart, but don't surrender completely to it. You know what I mean? Don't let it run you. And so I think that I'd rather see people take care of their immune system from a more natural standpoint, like get rid of the toxins, some of the supplements that I do to help you boost your immune system. Do some of the emotional work that I do on a regular basis to help you, again, take away the load off the immune system, right? Because all of that stress is eating away at our immune system. And so you're in a weird way, the fear feeds the problem, right? If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, we talk about this stuff all together on Fridays. We have like open topic, and we love talking about all of that and digging into it. And so that's our kind of like our open mic on Friday. That kind of stuff. Oh my goodness. So I don't know, Pamela, are you in a position where you could ask Carla a question?
A little bit better. I'm kind of choppy.
Okay.
It's like we are driving in between from home to San Antonio back to home. I've loved listening to you. There's so many different information and stuff that you're giving us a wealth of knowledge. And I know that we had briefly asked you what you were manifesting, what your vision for 2021 is. And you had said you had this huge vision, but unless I missed it, I don't think you really talked about what that vision is or how you see 2021 for yourself. What changes are you envisioning?
Well, for me personally, I've already started some of the things. Like I actually started Women's Health Revolution TV now. So I have a regular TV show. Actually, it's not that regular, but it's every 2 weeks I've started. So, and people can catch that on my YouTube channel, which is Women's Health Revolution TV.com. I know it's a lot, but you can also download E360 TV. It's an app. And it's broadcast on there as well. So there's a couple ways to catch that. Through the, I'm coming out more from my shell because I'm not, I had a background in Hollywood, and before I did development, I was a PR person. So I was used to being in the background for celebrities, not really the person who is in the front. And then a couple of years ago, I wrote a book, and all of a sudden I had people asking for my autograph, and I was, again, didn't even like the healer thing, didn't quite know how to process that because it just came out of, it was a very natural process for me to write the book. So what I feel going forward, and I have another book coming out, I think sometime this month, where I have a chapter in a book it's all women entrepreneurs from around the world, where we all chipped in a chapter. I think there's 12 or 13 of us in the book. So, but going forward, it's getting that word out so that I can help more women. I really want to heal over 200,000 women in the next 2 years. And I want to do that by just getting out more in the media, just like this, doing these interviews. I'll probably increase the frequency of the television show, but right now I'm just dipping my baby toe in the water to see how it feels, because it's a lot of responsibility to have a show, and I'm not big on commitment. I'm committed to helping people heal. When I'm in a session with them, I'm 100% there. But that kind of commitment is, it's a little bit of an adjustment for me, and I'm having to do a lot of mental work to go, okay, I'm going to do this, or I can do this. And then also teaching more of my seminars. I have one that's called How to Heal, How to Use Your Brain Profile to Reduce Your Stress. And I have that starting up again soon. On November 18th, I'm doing a free webinar on that. So if anybody is interested, they can go to healwithcarla.com and sign up there, and then they'll be able to attend the free webinar. But it's like little things like that, where I'm just getting out there more to spread the word. And I think as people, hopefully the right people will resonate with me, is how I look at it. I know that some of the things that I say would be very controversial to some people.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I believe in meeting people where they're at and respecting their decisions to be with their health however they choose to be,
What were the names of your book, Carla?
Oh, well, the one, there's one called, we just took the website down because it had a bug, but now you can get it on, and we took it off Amazon, but it's called The 10-Minute Face, that's one book that I wrote. There's another one, the 10-Minute Face is all teaching women how do you do skincare? How do you do non-toxic makeup? What are the things that actually talks about juicing? It has recipes in there. Things, eliminating toxins, some of the things we've talked about here. Right?
Yeah.
So that's, and it's a very little book, but it's just very concise. And then the other one that's coming out is, I think it's called Transformational Stories of Women in Business. Honestly, it's so sad. I can email you the name later when I find out what it's called. And then there's another one that's called How to Reduce Your Stress in 10 Days with Your Brain Profile. So that one is a free download they can get on my website, which is womenshealthrevolution.com.
Okay.
And if the link doesn't work, let me know, guys, because again, I had a malware attack on all of my websites. So it's been this just happened, by the way. So we're just in the process of trying to restore everything. So those are the ways. I'm part of I'm also part of a global community of women female entrepreneurs. And many of them have been wonderful about being supportive of what I'm teaching. I just had a woman today contact me from the UK asking to do an interview. I had a woman from, I think it was Abu Dhabi a couple of months ago interview me. So it's, but it was cool because this women's group, I feel like we're like this, because we create communication amongst a lot of different kinds of women around the world, we're actually got our own little mini UN going on here, where we're creating peace in a microcosm that can spread to the macro.
Nice.
So is that sort of how you're seeing 2021 sort of shape out? Is that, the rioting and the uneasiness of everyone, the tension that's there, you sort of see that calming down or ramping up as, I think some big decisions are going to be made pretty soon. And however you look at it, especially United States, half is not going to be happy and the other half is going to be extremely happy, if that's really what it is. But I don't know if it's half and half that are going to be happy and unhappy. How do you sort of see everything playing out moving forward?
Well, again, I'm not a prophet. But what I do believe in is we can each do peace in our own way and spread acceptance and love and communication by listening to each other. Because what's happening is the people that are, okay, so I'm going to tell a little kind of side story. So one of the things I do as a service project is I actually negotiate contracts for a humanitarian person who comes to the United States, usually once a year, of course, not now because of this, but, and so I deal with a lot of hotels as part of that job. And when I was doing negotiations with one of the hotels, there was some upheaval going on because the union wanted to unionize the people who worked at the hotel. And it was up for question whether the people would actually benefit from the union. The union benefits from the dues, but the question was, would the employees really be better off if they had the union? And what happened was they hired people that were kind of violent or protesters to come in and make problems and make it difficult. And I believe that right now, some of these things that we're seeing are people who have been hired to disrupt. Okay, I don't think it's a natural, some of them, yes. But I think the majority of them are people who've been, they're either being compensated or they've been somehow insensitized to disrupt things. Mm-hmm. I think it's up to us as individuals, to help create the world that we want to have in this world. And what I'm choosing to have decency, honesty, integrity, and acceptance and community. And so as individual light workers, which you all are, right? I think it becomes how much good can you spread in your universe, because it's going to magnify if we all focus on that. And also just very simply praying for peace every day as individuals. This is super important, because if we're not putting that energy into peace, it doesn't matter what side of the belief system you're on, like who you voted for or whatever. I think we can all agree that most of us anyway, can agree that we would prefer to have peace and not have to worry. So So however, you know, random acts of kindness, right? What can you do in your universe to make things better?
Love it. Love it. And I agree, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that probably, and I could be wrong with this number, but about 98% of people are good. They just have circumstances that have allowed them sometimes not to act in favorable ways. And by us focusing in on peace and harmony and just love and kindness, that starts to send a vibration out through the world. And the more that we do it, and I really believe this is happening. The other day I saw on Facebook, there was 1 million children in Thailand that meditated all at the same time for an hour straight on nothing but peace for the world.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine how powerful that is? All at the same time, all in one location. They were in this massive square. Like, you looked at the picture and I'm like, that is insane. And, you know, it's only a matter of time before that starts to get to everyone, where all of this stuff, where people are being incentivized either by some other means or by money to cause this destruction for whatever reason that they're doing it, for divide, is really what I believe is they're trying to do. It's just going the opposite way, where people have just chosen not to do it. I think there's also a really famous study that was done in Israel. No, not Israel. Somewhere in the Middle East. I can't remember where it was. In the middle of a war was going on, bombs going off, buildings being blown down. These, I think it was like 30 or 40 people went into like a theater, bombs going off around, gunfire, and all they did was meditate until it all stopped. And it literally stopped within minutes of them just meditating on it. The fighting stopped, the bomb stopped, everything stopped around them. And it's a very famous study. It was done in like 1978, and they wrote a book on it. I was reading all about it. It was so interesting. But the power of meditation is so powerful. People have no idea when you really focus in on it, on what can actually happen.
Yeah, I think it's definitely part of it, but I also do want to say that taking physical action is also extremely important and that could be taking food over to a neighbor, you know, or, you know, I don't know, feeding, you know, helping participate in homeless feedings. There's so many people that are in poverty. What COVID has done is it's brought to light the imbalances that we had in our culture, in our system. And it, you know, it's put quite a big spotlight on it, and we're getting more and more people shifting into poverty. Many people are suffering very badly right now. So if we can do anything to, even if you can't physically do something, but you're going to donate money to do something to a group that does, you know, I really want to encourage people to participate in that way. But ideally, we take some physical action besides the prayer and meditation. So yeah, so that's all we can do, because honestly, I don't know, you know, what other alternative do we have? I said to my husband, I hope we don't end up in some kind of civil war in this country, because in some ways it's certainly looking like that could be a possibility. Like, and you know, so we have a choice about what we can do right now to try. And I think not buying into, not, you know, it's, we talked, I think you all are conscious, so you know that what you put your energy on expands, right? So if we focus on the violence, guess what we get, right?
Right. And that's what I was kind of talking about earlier when I was introducing everything. And in our little group, we're like, how can we make a change? Like, it starts with us, then it grows a little bit more and grows a little bit more. Like yesterday, I took a access consciousness bars class. Again, it's my second one. And I was just reminded that every time we do a clearing, we're clearing for 350,000 people.
Wow.
And it's just amazing that in just one session, we are impacting, you know, our community and the world around us, just because, you know, we are energy. So I love that. And we just, I know we kept you way longer than we probably.
Thank you, God. No, it's been a very interesting. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it a lot. So.
Yeah, and thank you. We're gonna put your your webpage on here, and we're going to share this with all our friends and family and all of our groups and web pages. And we just thank you again so much for being here and having a conversation with us tonight.
Well, thank you so much. And it was lovely meeting all of you. And thanks. It was an honor. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thanks,
Carla.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.